Hey everyone, welcome back to day number 3! So if you've been tagging along, so far we have almost completed the skirt, as you can see behind us, and we have worked on the lining of the bodice by putting the boning structure in. I'm learning things. And we've put together the outer fabric for the bodice as well as the piping along the top, and we've made the buttons. So they're just about ready to put on. So Emily, why don't you tell us what our plan is for today?
The plan for today is, first of all, this is actually just pinned on to the lining here. It's not sewn, it's completely fake. So we're gonna have to sew the yellow on to the lining so it's not just pinned. Before we do that, we're gonna have to sew the buttons onto the yellow before we sew the yellow onto the lining. And we're going to be doing the sleeves, which is very terrifying but very exciting because getting sleeves to fit properly is a nightmare, but it'll be fun, so that's okay. And then we have the fun part of the sleeve, which is the lace along the bottom. And then we're gonna have to hem the skirt. And then the last is putting the grommets down the back to lace up the back of the bodice, or else it will fall off your body. Let's get to it. Let's get to it.
Before we got started, it was literally the hottest day of the year. Well, maybe not quite the hottest, but it was hot. So we grabbed Emily's brother and asked him to help us create some shade over the porch. So to start the buttons, we marked the middle point on the bodice. And putting a button there, we then spaced out from there, just eyeballing how far apart each button would be. Then we grabbed a fabric pen to mark down where each button would go. Now you want to make sure to sew on the buttons before sewing the outside fabric to the liner. So we started by sewing each one on individually, and this took some time. Next, we measured the liner to fit. Then we put the good sides together and began to pin.
We're gonna leave the armholes open.
We took a quick break to swim because it was a really hot day. And by a quick, I mean an hour and a half.
Oh, it's coming. Big cloud.
Okay, like what do you actually do in your business?
I was once upon a time on a board and was just like, I'm sewing all the time, so I might as well sew and like make some money.
Fair enough. Have you made money?
I've made money. I don't know why people like doing this sort of thing.
You should.
You good? Okay.
You should use the leftover material to make a scrunchie. Match so that Peggy can wear a scrunchie because that really fits with the time.
It honestly does fit with her like character though.
It does. Like if she were
like Visco Girl Peggy.
We'll get her a hydro flask too.
My friend had a brilliant idea. I was like smart, and then it's like I need to make sure not to spill the secrets here.
So the end of day 3. What did we do today, Emily?
We sewed buttons on the dress.
We sewed buttons and sewn
Outer to the lining, and that was it at the end.
Yes, productive day, and we swam a couple laps.
So we wasted our time.
So we will see you the next time, whatever that is, and hopefully that day we will finish.
We will finish it because I don't want to do this today. It's taking a long time. So we'll finish it next time.
See ya next time. All right, we are back on day 4 or 5 or whatever day it is. And today we are hoping to get done the grommets, which I believe you explained in a previous time, and hemming the skirt and putting the sleeves on. Yes. So hopefully it'll be a quick day, maybe. We are hoping that this is the last round, but we will see, and let's get to it. We began the day by sewing our sleeves, adjusting as we tried them on to make sure that they fit correctly. How's it looking?
It's looking. I don't know. We're gonna have to trim the seams and see.
Okay, so we cut the lace into a couple different pieces here for the ends of the sleeves. And if you can see here, there's kind of an alternating pattern. So we're gonna keep that alternated and sew these together just to make it a thicker lace for the sleeve. Otherwise it'll look kind of funny, but yeah.
So once you have the lace cut out, you're going to be sewing the two together to make it wider. Sewing the edges together so it's one tube. And then I had the biggest stitch on my sewing machine and did one running stitch around the top. Then you gather the top edge to the size of the bottom of your sleeve. So, bottom of your sleeves, I guess. You make sure that they match. And then we're gonna be making it so that the front part is like a little bit shorter. So we're not gonna be putting the lace on until the sleeves are actually on the bodice.
So Emily just pinned on the sleeve and it's starting to come together. I think we should just leave it like this with the one arm. What do you think? Sort of a dress.
Gotta fix. Move these plates to here. Won't be that hard.
Cool.
Smash them with the other side.
Nice.
You're not gonna turn the bodice inside out, but you're gonna take your lace that's gathered on one side, and if you have it shorter on one side and longer on the other, you're gonna make sure that the shorter side is at the front, but you're actually gonna be putting it on upside down like this, so that when you pin it on and you sew it here, it'll flip down and look like so.
We got the lace on. Look at this. It's actually so nice. It worked so well. And we just have it's falling off. That's fun. We just have to iron it out. Oh, and take that stitch out. That's not nice.
Yeah, when you take that, there's still, things.
Yeah, getting there. It's starting to look like a dress.
It's looking like a dress before.
We gave it a quick iron before jumping to our next step. So what's happening here?
I am pinning the hem, a guesstimate of the hem, because we haven't tried it on yet, but I want to pin like what I think will be around the right length. So then when we try it on, it'll just be adjusting instead of Sophie standing here for 30 minutes as I pin the hem. She won't want to do that.
That is true. I do not want to do that.
So I'm just doing this and then we can just adjust around and see what we need to fix.
Sweet.
Squeak.
So we are watching Netflix while doing the grommets, as we said before. So right now Emily's just spacing out like the spots where we're gonna sew them in. They're like just a centimeter under 2 inches away from each other. So here we go.
We're using this pokey awl thing to poke a hole. I wouldn't recommend punching a hole because then that just breaks the fibers, and when you break the fibers they become weaker.
This is just like pushing them apart.
This is pushing them apart. It might break one or two, but it's not like you're just punching a hole, because then it's more likely to rip.
So you go through both layers there.
Yeah. And then you wiggle it around. You might want to get like something like a knitting needle or something like that if you need to make it a bit bigger. Most of the time it needs to be a little bigger than this. I usually just go in and really wiggle it.
So we're gonna do that to all down. 18 of those. You can see here I've finished 2 grommets. Emily's working on one right here, so Emily, why don't you tell us what you did?
Okay, so you put the metal rings over the hole, and then basically you put the knot in the hole here so it's hidden, and then you just start looping around the metal ring like so. You want to make sure that the threads are really close together. You don't want the metal to really be showing underneath because you want it to be strong enough. There we go.
Right, so when it's done, it's gonna look like that, where you can't see the metal,
There's
ideally.
sometimes little tiny bits because like reality is sometimes it'll be like that.
Not on mine.
Yours are better than mine.
Ha! Look at me go.
Do you want a pillow for your back?
Okay, so we've done 5 of 18 grommets, and it's taken us like an hour to do 5.
That's actually pretty good.
And we'll
That's
speed up
sad.
once now that you're getting used to it. You'll speed up.
But it's because it's down there. So what Emily doesn't know is I am dying right now. I'm so tired and I have to be up in the morning. But, you know, it's all worth it to get this video out. We are so close to finishing. Like, after this, all we need to do is like the Modesty sheet. I have no idea. And then finishing the hem, which I don't think Emily did. No, she did not do yet. So maybe I'll have her do that before. I'm in the middle of video.
Oh.
I got back pillows. Okay, bye. So as I took the bodice home to keep working on the grommets by myself, Emily ironed the hem to the length desired and pinned as she went. You want to be sure as you're doing this that you flip the edge under as she's showing you, and then iron it before sewing. As she ironed, I kept sewing. To be quite honest, these grommets took forever, so I sewed in the car, I sewed during class, I sewed during Netflix, I sewed and sewed and sewed for hours.
So once it's all ironed, then it's gonna look like this all the way across the bottom of the hem. And then we're going to sew it along this top piece here. All hemmed.
I have exciting news. After, oh man, it had to be like 9 hours of painfully sewing the grommets. They are complete. Look at all of those. There are 9 holes on each one, and all of them are painfully sewn in. But that means that we are almost done, which means I can show it to you all soon. I'm so ready for this to be finished. It's been a long process, but it will all be worth it at the end. So, on to the next step.
There are 5 tabs on each side of the bodice, so 10 total, that will sit along the waist here that go over top of the skirt. And I'm gonna show you guys how we're gonna make those. We're gonna be doing 4 because the original dress had more of a drastic point in the front and in the back. So they had more space for tabs. So if we want to do 5 tabs, they'd have to be like way too narrow, which we don't want because we don't want it to be skinny little strips. So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, and it'll end around here, which is perfect. So yeah, I'm cutting out the tabs. They measure 3.5 inches by 4 inches exactly. For each tab, there's going to be 2 pieces of the outer yellow, so the yellow that the bodice was made out of, 16 of these, and you're going to be sewing them right sides together. So you're going to put them together and you're going to sew them on the machine with a, I would say 4 5/8 inch seam allowance around 3 sides, so the wider side, narrower side, and the wider side. Then you're going to leave one side open. It's a total of 8, and they're doubled up. You're going to take your scissors and trim off the corners and edges just so that we can fold them over and it won't be as bulky. And it's gonna look like this.
Finish off by ironing each individual piece, and then Emily took all 4 tabs and hand stitched them onto the bodice by eye. And here's the final product. And we're nearly done, but before that we have to create the Modesty panel. So measure the length of the bodice and then cut a strip of material the same color as the outer bodice to that length. For us, that was 18 inches long and 5¼ inches wide. The process here is the same thing as the tabs, so put 2 pieces together, sew 3 sides, cut the corners and flip inside out, and then iron. Then we hand stitch to the inside of the back of the bodice. And the purpose of a Modesty panel is just that, modesty, so to make sure that when you lace up the back, there's no skin peeping through. Last but not least, we needed a way to make sure that the skirt didn't fall down but we could also get inside, so it needed a hook and eye. This was a simple hand stitch, very similar to sewing on the grommets.
So once you have this one sewn on, you want to make sure to put the hook in here, put the fabric that goes over it, over top, because you want to make sure that this piece covers this. And then you can pull it back and have a look at where you're going to have to be sewing this onto there.
After sewing on the last hook, we are officially done. Let's show you the final product. And here's our final product. I'm so excited for you guys to see this. On me, the hem looks a little bit short, but that's because I'm wearing a bit higher heels than I would with this normally. That's enough of me talking. I'll let you get a closer look.
Okay, everyone. We have finally finished the Peggy dress. I'm currently wearing masks, so I've got a bit of a sniffle, and you know, you gotta be careful. Also, I'm eating my mask. 2020 problems. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. This has been a lot of fun. We have braved the rain. We have braved
I wish it would snow.
incredible heat. Yeah, I mean, it's nearly snow. You should see it. This has been it's been a project for the books. Definitely for the books and nothing else.
I think it's the most wild project I've ever done.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to give a like if you liked it. And subscribe. Hit the notification button if you want to see more videos like this. And yeah, subscribe too, because that always helps the channel. And thanks, Emily, for tuning in. Go check her out at Lime Made by Em. I'll tag her in the description. Yeah, she's got some cool stuff, including some scrunchies that I've worn during the videos, if you've noticed that. So you should check her out. Anyways, we are gonna go inside out of the rain. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Goodbye. I think my worst memory though, but also favorite. I went to a Christmas party and they served literally mushroom soup, and it was like mushroom chunks, like just filled with mushrooms, made out of mushrooms, with mushrooms on top. And I was like, I took one bite and gagged, and I was like, Ian, what do? I cannot for the life of me finish this without like puking. And so like he finished his, and I'm like, we quickly swapped our bowls and no one was looking.
And you ate both?
We ate both.
What a legend.
And it was like the appetizer, so he was like full by the time it got to like the meat.
I love mushroom soup though.
Thank you.